Flosstube. Good afternoon. It's Kate here of Colorblind Cross Stitch. Today is July 8th. I don't actually have too much to show you today, so I would say this is going to be a quick video, but let's be real, I'm probably just going to start talking about random stuff and end up with it being a long video, because that seems to be the way it goes. But all I have to show you right now is I have one WIP. I'm still working on the Tangible Good project, the video game Battle Tapestry. So, seeing as that is basically the only thing I have to show you, let me pull that up for you. Big piece of fabric. So, I'm still working on the black and the white for the villains, which is this half of the fabric. That's all of them together, along with the Moogle, who hangs out in the middle. So, this week, I finished, if you remember, last week I had done Bowser, who you couldn't see when I showed it last week because my hoop was in the way. So that was Bowser, whom I finished last week. I had also been in the middle of doing the outline of Kefka. So this week I finished Kefka. There's Kefka. And so I've been working on, since then, Doctor Robotnik from the Sonic the Hedgehog games. I don't know which video game my Christopher grabbed the sprite from, but so that's Sonic the Hedgehog, Doctor Robotnik, who's like the main villain. So he's actually quite large, takes up my entire hoop, and actually I think I'm going to have to move the hoop to do the rest of him. The back half of his little like Robotnik machine. So far, lots of black, because that was 3 or 4 lengths of black thread to do like the bottom, and then there's like a black and yellow arrow, which is what I'm filling in here, and then eventually the rest of like the back of his machine. I don't actually know if there's any white in Dr. Robotnik, so he's sort of like mostly done. 2/3 done, maybe 3/4, I'm not sure exactly. So after Dr. Robotnik, I have two villains left to do down this side of the tapestry. There is Ridley's head sort of goes in here from the Metroid games. I'm looking forward to doing Ridley because I like Ridley. I like the Metroid games. They're like one of my favorite. They're one of my favorite games, and the reason why Ridley is here is because I wanted to stitch Ridley. And then there's a Street Fighter dude in the bottom corner. I know the Street Fighter dudes that Chris found are Ken and Bison, but I don't know which one's which. So I don't remember, I've never played much Street Fighter, so I don't know if Ken is the good guy and Bison's the bad guy, or vice versa. I feel like that's Ken's the good guy and Bison's the bad guy, but I might have that reversed. So whoever the Street Fighter guy is, he goes in that corner. So there's the rest of Dr. Robotnik, and then two more villains, and that will be that side. The black and white done for all of that side, which I'm hoping to get done this week. Probably won't quite get them done this week because all 3 of these are quite large. They're larger sprites compared to like Kefka and the Moogle and the turret are all very small. But I'll get Dr. Robotnik finished. I will start on Ridley, and I'll see how much of Ridley and Street Fighter dude I get done. I don't actually know what that will end up being. And then once I do that, then it's time to start on the black and the white for the heroes, which will be all of this blank side of the tapestry. It will kind of probably be laid out kind of similar, except they'll be the hero side of the video game people. And then eventually I'll have to do the rest of their colors and the background last. I'm honestly haven't heard back from the Desert Best people. I'm almost hoping that they are like no, because I'm not sure how I'm going to get all of this done by September. You know, it's already like getting on to mid-July and I'm still working on like black and white. I still have all the rest of the colors to do. I mean, the rest of the colors, there's a whole lot less of them than there are black and white. And so probably what I'll end up doing is, I don't know if I'll do the rest of the colors in this sort of like cross-country, do them all together, or if I'll pick a color and then go through the whole thing to find that one color, or if I'll do it by sprite. I haven't decided yet. I can't decide what would be easier if I had a print copy of this chart, it would be easy and I just do it, you know, by sprite, but I'm not printing off like the 75 pages that this chart is currently on my computer because that's a lot of dead trees. Haven't decided how I'm going to do the rest of the colors yet, but I still like have half of them to buy, and the sky color, because I need like 10 skeins of electric blue to do the sky with. So I haven't bought the rest of the colors yet. I think I have about half of them currently. I found at least greens for most of the grass and the hills. One of them, I think I have 2 skeins instead of 3, or like 1.5 skeins instead of 3, so I need to buy at least 1 more skein. Another one of them I have, my estimate is that I need 7 skeins, and I do have 7 skeins, but I have 2 of them in the DMC color and then 5 of them in the JP and Coats color, and I'm hoping that I can do it in parts. So it's like ground and then like hills, and I can do like 1 in DMC and 1 in JP and Coats, and then they'll effectively be 2 different colors, and they'll split up into 2 different colors that are very similar. I don't want to use the JP and Coats and the DMC beside each other because while they're close, they're very similar. They're close enough to be sort of like this is the JP and Coats to DMC conversion. They're not exactly the same, and when I put them together, even I can see that they're not quite the same. So, if I can see that they're not quite the same, any sighted person is definitely going to be able to see that they're not quite the same. So I have to either buy 5 more skeins of the DMC color to have them all be 1 color, or find a way to like split the colors up and use them as if they were kind of like 2 colors, which I think I can do. I just haven't looked at the whole pattern yet to figure out which green that is exactly. I'm really waiting for Michael's to have like a % off whole purchase coupon so I can go and buy my floss. So far, they've mostly just had like, here's 50% off 1 item, here's 40% off 1 item, which is great if I'm buying 1 rather large item. When I went to kit up Teresa Wensler's Egyptian sampler, I had one of those coupons, like 50% off or 40% off or something, and I used it on my fabric, which was like $8 or $10, so I got it like $4 or $5, which is great. But, you know, if I'm buying like 25 or 30 or maybe even 35 skeins of floss, having 1 skein of floss at like 35 cents instead of 70 cents isn't going to make much of a difference. It's still, the rest of them are still going to be 70 cents. So I'm waiting, but Michael's has not been very obliging. US Michael's had a 20% off coupon I saw on Facebook, but it was only at US Michael's, and I'm not in the US, I'm in Canada, so that didn't work. There was one, I think there was one in June that was like 25% off for a day, but I didn't have my floss list ready yet, so I missed it. I was hoping maybe in like their like, because Canada Day happened and they were like, yay, Canada Day, and I was hoping maybe they would have like a sale, but that didn't happen. They had sales on like Canada Day things, which I'm pretty sure was more just because, hey, now that it's Canada Day, we need to move all our Canada decor that, you know, people would have bought for Canada Day, so we can make our like clearance, Canada Day clearance more exciting by calling it a sale. And so I'm waiting. I might have to eventually bite the bullet and go buy the things at full price, which is still, I mean, still a whole lot better than European stitchers pay for like the same stuff. So, and still the same, like once you calculate the exchange rate, it's the same as US Michael's. So it's not terrible. It's just, you know, if I could get 25% off of my total purchase or something and get them at like 50 cents instead of 70 cents or whatever it would be, that savings would add up, and that would be, you know, that would be kind of nice. But that's that. I do need to get the floss for that, but I haven't yet because sales might not happen, so I might have to go anyway. But speaking of floss and the Tangible Good Project, one thing I did this week, and I will put a link below, because one of the cross-stitch Facebook groups I was on had a discussion about different cross-stitch software, and someone linked to, I think it was a blog post, Lord Liban or Lorbidan or something. I don't remember the name of the blog. It's not one I read. I actually don't read many blogs at all. No, scratch that. I don't read any blogs at all. I'm really bad at keeping up with them. So, which is a bit of a pity, because there are some really interesting blogs out there. I just don't have the eye strength to do that much computer reading. And I get my computer to read to me, which is okay, but Chrome and my computer voice have issues. My computer doesn't recognize the text in Chrome as text. So if I want to read it, or get my computer to read it, I have to like copy paste it, which is super annoying. Which is not very conducive to reading long text on the computer. So probability of me reading actual blogs anytime soon is pretty much none. Blog tangent aside, the reason I was talking about blogs is because someone linked this blog post which talked about different cross-stitch software for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, and gave like a little bit of a review for each of them and like their price and things. Most of them are really expensive. A couple of them aren't bad. I think like, what was it, PC Stitch and Mac Stitch I think were the ones that were like, they were like between like $30 and $50, which, you know, for a piece of software is not too bad. If it like comes with all its features and things like that, that's good. I mean, that's okay. But then there were a couple that were like, this piece of software costs you $200. And I'm just like, that's really expensive for a piece of software that isn't, I mean, I guess that isn't super specialized, and I guess cross-stitch software is kind of super specialized, so maybe it makes a certain amount of sense. But like, I'm pretty sure I bought my copy of Windows 7 for like $200. That's an entire like Windows, like OS, for the same price as like this cross. I mean, maybe like things like Word or like Photoshop cost that much. I don't know. I've never used Photoshop because I always use the GIMP, which is not quite as fully featured, but is free. And I haven't used Word in a really long time because I do all my writing in LaTeX now, and LaTeX is completely free and open source. It has a super huge learning curve. I'd have a learning curve too. That is the one that people trip over when they try and learn it. LaTeX is amazing, not cross-stitch related, but like for writing scientific papers, it's super good because it does all of the, it's not, unlike things like Word, it's not WYSIWYG, so it's not like what you see is what you get. You do it in like a markup language, but LaTeX will do all your section headings for you and your example numbering and bibliographies, so I don't have to worry about remembering the ins and outs of like APA format. It will do that all for me automatically. And it's great, and it's completely free, and I love LaTeX. I also get to draw beautiful syntax trees and semantics notations. Gosh, see, I knew that I would want to say that this video is going to be really short because I would start rambling, because that's totally what's happening here. However, LaTeX is great. LaTeX is free. LaTeX is not cross-stitch related. But what I was talking about is all these cross-stitch softwares, and a lot of them cost money. Some of them cost a lot of money. So I was looking through this list because I was like, maybe I can find something more useful, because what I've been using so far is a program called C-Stitch. C-Stitch? It's all one word. So I've been reading it as C-Stitch because that makes sense in the phonetics of English, and Stitch doesn't really. That's not like a valid English consonant cluster. Well, no, it's valid at the end of syllables. Not so much for like the beginning of words. Anyway, so I've been using C-Stitch, which is wonderful because it's free. I love me some free shit. But the thing with it is it's very, not low-featured, I mean it is low-featured, but very limited. That's the word I'm looking for. It's very limited in what you can do with it. You can feed it a photo or like a picture, get it to generate a pattern. You can do some editing of that pattern in that you can, like you can edit the stitches to like change them. When I did the Tangible Good project in C-Stitch, I edited a bunch of the, like I ended up redrawing a bunch, like a chunk of the hills because they had come out wrong in the pre-generated pattern. And I discovered that it also has a feature where, you know, if there is like 5 or less stitches of a color, you can tell it to be like, okay, go to the next nearest color that has more than that. And you know, reduce the number of things where it's like, oh, I need this color to do like 3 stitches, which is just dumb, when, you know, you're probably not going to notice 3 stitches of a color being different from a different color kind of idea. So it does have a couple of features like that, but it only does whole stitches. It turns pixel art into cross-stitch patterns, effectively. I know that I am doing, for example, the background on the Tangible Good project. I know that I am doing the background in half stitches. I've decided this. My pattern doesn't mark that in any way. I've just decided, and I have to keep that in my head and be like, okay, this is going to be half stitches. So I've been thinking, you know, if I want to get into more pattern design, which I think I would, because I like the ability to like design my own patterns. There are a bunch of patterns that other people have designed that are awesome that I want to stitch, but there are a couple things that I would like to maybe design and stitch for myself, or, you know, take from like photos or whatever, maybe, and like stitch for myself. For example, I think it'd be really cool to do, like NASA has some really cool like space photos, and I think it'd be really neat to do like some like Hubble photography as like cross-stitch patterns. I think that would look really cool. I know Heaven and Earth designs Heaven and Earth Designs has at least a couple patterns generated from Hubble telescope images. Hate patterns are really big. So I think I would like to do something a little bit smaller than that if I can do it and also have it keep the detail. Or the creepy eye fish from the Codex Seraphinius. I love the Codex Seraphinianus. It's a wonderful book, which if you want like weird books that are not actually readable, you should totally check it out. It's an Italian artist, I think. I think Serafini, I think is his name, was an Italian artist. I think he was Italian. He did this book of like drawings that's kind of like an alien encyclopedia, and they're all kind of bizarre, surreal pencil drawings, but like not actually pencil because they're in color, but they're have a bit more of like that softer look of like colored pencils kind of deal going on. They're really nicely done. And he wrote that he did all the drawings for this book, and then wrote what looks like what the kind of descriptions you'd see in an encyclopedia in a completely made up alphabet. According to Serafini himself, it's just gibberish. He just was like, I wanted to come up with this idea of you look at an encyclopedia, but it's in a completely different language. What does that... Yeah, it was kind of like the idea he was going with. And so he made up this like gibberish alphabet. I love it, so I bought myself a copy when it was re-released. It goes out of print and then gets re-released on the regular, and so last time it was re-released I had a gift card for my birthday, I think it was, and so I bought myself a copy. It lives at school, I can't show it to you, of the Codex Seraphinianus, but one of my favorite pages are these fish that, when you see them out of the top of the water, they've got like these weird tails, so it kind of looks like they're like eyes floating on the water, like with eyebrows, and then I think if I have a picture of the creepy eye fish, I'm gonna insert them here, because I love them. Consequently, I would love to stitch them. Have bizarre Codex Seraphinianus art cross-stitched on my wall. It'd be great. I'd also love to do, like, the Moria Gate from Lord of the Rings, but, like, glow-in-the-dark, and do it on, like dark gray fabric, so it looks like a stone wall, and then do it in glow-in-the-dark thread, so that when you, like, turn the lights off, and then there's, like, the glowing Moria Gate. I think that'd be really cool. Someone on Etsy does have a Moria Gate pattern that doesn't suck. I found it. I think I bookmarked it. Eventually, it's gonna, like, be mine. There was someone else who had a Moria Gate pattern that I didn't like as much. But that's another one of those things that I want to do. Maybe get some, like, fancy hand-dyed fabric to be, like, the modeled, like, rock wall look, and then do the gate and glow-in-the-dark thread. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah. I want to stitch so many things! I want to stitch all the things! There's, like, all the Teresa Wenslers, because everything I've seen by Teresa Wensler I've basically loved. Christmas things not so much, just because I'm kind of mad about Christmas patterns. So, I've been equally mad about, like, Teresa Wensler's Christmas patterns because I'm mad about Christmas patterns in general. But, like, she has, I think, like, a peacock, and there's, like, a cat, which is really pretty, like a Siamese cat, which is really pretty. And then there's, like, I think she has fairies for every season, which would be cool, and she has a couple that have dragons, and I am a sucker for everything dragons. And I do actually have a copy of the castle pattern, but which I would like to do at some point, but I think when I do, I might have to, like, get myself a different copy, because I think my copy's been, like, written all over. It was, like, a thrift store find, and I was like, I picked it up and went, wow, that's cool. That'd be cool to do one day. And then put it away because, wow, that would be cool to do not today because complicate, but it's been drawn all over, so I don't know if I'll be able to, like, use it. Teresa Wensler's The Castle is one of those ones that I do want to do eventually, because dragons! Because I love me some dragons. But I've decided one Teresa Wensler at a time. So I have to finish the Egyptian sampler first, which is also going to be amazing, which I really want to get back to, but I need to finish the things that have timelines, that have deadlines, because deadlines. The Egyptian sampler is entirely for me. Yeah, I want to stitch all the things, and I want to get back to Connie G. Sal, and I want to get back to my Joan Elliott dragon, which are also waiting for me. I was, however, talking about pattern creation software. There was a reason I was talking about pattern creation software, because I was talking about how I was using C-Stitch, which works out pretty well, except it's not very featured, doesn't have many features, is not very fully featured, however you want to say that. It does whole stitches only, it basically takes pixel art and makes a pattern out of them. Chooses, like, the DMC colors for you. Good for what it does, doesn't do very much. One of the other pieces of software that was in this list was something called Blend Threads, or Blended Threads. Something like that, which I've just started playing with, which, like I said, I've just started playing with it. I did a little, like, experimentation. One of the things that, what I ended up doing with it is I actually took my picture for this, the Tangible Good project, and fed it into blend threads to basically do a check on what colors the program chose. Because I've heard that a couple of the programs can be less good about choosing correct DMC colors for, like, choosing close colors. Blog post that I was reading talked about, I think it was KG Chart, which is one that's got color choosing problems. I guess it has like a red bias, so your colors end up more red than you want them to. So it's great if you're choosing your own colors, but less great if you're getting it to automatically generate colors for you, which would be bad for me because I need something that will generate its own colors and be right, because I can't do that very accurately. So what I did, because I had downloaded this blend threads, was I gave it the image for the Tangible Good project to see what colors it came up with and how that compared to the C-Stitch color list. I was actually quite pleased to find that, for the most part, they matched pretty well. There was, I think, in the end, like half a dozen to a dozen colors, like 8 or 10 colors or something, which were different. Out of 50, like out of 55 or whatever it was, like that's pretty good. So one of the things I did this week was sat down and kind of went through the two color lists and went, okay, for the colors that aren't the same, you know, what are they? How are they different? Do I want to choose one of the other, like, colors from, like, blend threads or something instead of C-Stitch? And do I have, if I don't have the C-Stitch color, do I have the blend thread color? So I found 2 more colors that way. But also kind of went for the ones that, like, matched in both programs. I'm like, okay, I definitely want to get that color because I have a consensus that that is the best color from 2 different pieces of software. So now I have a Tangible Good color list that I'm completely happy with, which is why I want to go shopping to Michael's, but I need a coupon. But yes, so I was experimenting with this blend thread, and it has the major advantage that it is also free software. I don't know if it's open source, or if it's just this person was like, I made a cross-stitch software, that's cool, and I made it free. I know that C-Stitch is both free and open source, so if you are a programmer, you could, or have, like, friends who are willing to do programming for you. You could take the source for C-Stitch and, like, add things to it. I'm not a programmer. My person is, but what this blend thread, which I found, which I'm actually pretty excited about learning how to use, has a whole lot more of features than C-Stitch does. It does, like C-Stitch, you can pull a picture in, you can generate a pattern from the picture with DMC threads. You can do that in more detail. There's much more control from what I could see about how you generate that cross-stitch pattern from the image, like how many colors you want. Like C-Stitch, when you do that for C-Stitch, you can give it basically an upper bound and be like, okay, I only want 50 colors, or I only want 100 colors or something, versus I just want you to give me as many colors as possible. Blended Threads does this thing where I haven't exactly figured out how it works, but it looks like it has a much more sophisticated, like, algorithm for figuring out a pattern with not many colors versus a pattern with lots of colors. It's more fine-grained in how it does that. The other thing it does, which I think is really cool, which I haven't seen for anything else, and the reason why its name is Blend Threads, or Blended Threads, is you can actually tell it either, I want you to pick the closest solid DMC color, or I want you to pick the closest blended color, and it will generate blended thread colors for you. I'm not sure how that algorithm works, whether it just goes, I can do a color between X and Y by combining X and Y, or whether, for example, I can get, like, a medium dark by combining the medium with the dark. You get a shade in the middle, and that's what it does. Or whether it can actually go, between literally any 2 colors, and you can go, I want something that's, I don't know, a combination of green and orange, and it will blend you. Excuse me, here's a green and orange blend, which I guess you could do maybe to simulate some kinds of variegation. So I'm not sure if it does that, or if it just does, here's a shade, here's a shade, here's a shade in between. Either way, that definitely gives you more, not more variation, but a more fine-grained, potential set of colors, because you can do solid DMC colors, or you can do shades in between by blending colors, and it will generate that for you, which I think is really cool. It also has a thing where you can, like, draw in backstitching, which C-stitch doesn't have anything for backstitching at all. And it looks like it might actually have a way for you to draw in specialty stitches. So it looks like this blend threads, once I can figure out how to use it, it's not super intuitive, but once like you figure out how to use it, it looks like it's pretty damn full featured in terms of coming from either I have a picture that I'm making into a pattern, or I'm building a computer pattern from scratch. You know, either because you sat down with some graph paper, you know, or you're just pattern doodling kind of deal. So I'm actually, and the reason why I've been building up to this and talking about this is I'm actually really excited about what this piece of software can do in terms of pattern creation. So I'm thinking that if I can figure out a good way to do it with like some like screen capture software on my computer, and if I can figure out how to make the program work really well, I would like to do a couple tutorials, I think, on how to use blend threads to give people who are interested in pattern making more options in terms of software that makes good patterns and makes good patterns for free, because everyone loves free. And I think unlike the other free options, which are in some way limited, like I said, C-stitch only does full stitches, which is great as long as you're basically converting pixel art. There are several online websites that you send them a picture, it will generate a pattern for you. I played with them a little bit back when I was first experimenting with making a pattern. The thing with those ones is most of the ones I found, and I don't remember the names of any of them now because I was literally like, I googled for like cross-stitch pattern generator or whatever and like clicked on what I found. But most of them have a like stitch limit. So it's like, we will convert on 100, you know, we will make, you can submit a photo or whatever, however big, but we're only going to generate an 100 by 100 pixel pattern, or we're only going to generate like a 200 by 200 pixel pattern, something like that. I think some of them are even up to like 300 by 300, which is pretty big. But for example, this is 420 by 258. So you couldn't do that in any of the online things that I remember trying. That was the other thing I found that I'm pretty excited about. If I can figure out how to make it work and figure out how to make my computer work, I would love to do, if people are interested, I mean, if no one's going to be interested, that would be sad. I might do it anyway, because I think it will help me learn how to use this program, and I think that would be good for all the things, to give you a fully featured free option for cross-stitch pattern making, because I think that I'm super excited about having found this blend thread software. I'm going to play with it more. It's going to detract from my stitching because I'm going to sit here and play with software, but I don't care. I don't care, it's going to be fun. I'm going to make all the things eventually. I'm going to make all the things eventually. Story of my life. Cross-stitching, software, keep an eye out for software tutorials. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen eventually. I'm pretty well decided, because yay, happy pattern making. Plans for next week: continue Doctor Robotnik, start on Ridley. If I finish Ridley, start on Street Fighter Guy. I still have my other piece, which is a Christmas present, which I would like to get back to, but I'm still like, I'm looking at this, and the more I look at this go, how am I gonna finish this by the middle of September if I don't work on it all the time? A lot of stitching, so I haven't heard back from the Desert Best people. I should actually hear back from them fairly soon, I believe. When I submitted to like offer to have a piece for their auction thing, Desert Best fundraiser, back in June, I believe they said they would get a reply, like a yes or no, by mid-July. So I should find out by this week if I actually need to have this done by mid-September. For now, I'm going under the assumption that I do. The last thing I'd want to be is like, oh, I actually need this done, and then have been like, I didn't work on it at all for 2 weeks, and that would be bad. I'm working under the assumption that I want to have this done by September, so I'm working away as much as possible. I'm pretty close to getting the black and white done for the villains, though, which is pretty exciting. So I'm hoping that once I'm done the black and white, when I do the other colors, they will actually go more quickly. I will see, though, because they will probably also include a lot more confetti stitching, because there are, at least for some of them, because I'm sure some of them are like, there's one stitch here, there's one stitch here, there's one stitch here. So in total, that's like 20 stitches, but, you know, they might only be in like 2 or 3 stitch chunks. So, we'll see. For now, I'm working on the black and white still, which will take me at least 1 more week, maybe 2. of the villains, and then I get to start on the heroes, which is exciting because I like a lot of the heroes. There's Samus and Mega Man and Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog and Link and Cloud and Claptrap and a companion cube. I know we threw a companion cube in there. Street Fighter dude. I don't know what Street Fighter dude's name is. And then there's an Undertale person, Frisk, I believe. I mean, Undertale being Undertale, they're probably not really heroes and villains as such, but, you know, to even it out, there's an Undertale person on either side. And then Pikachu, that's the other one. Pikachu's on sort of the good side. So yeah, that's this week. I'll be stitching this. I'm probably playing with software, because patterns, because stitch all the things. So, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment. I love me some comments. And I hope you have a lovely week in which you get to stitch all the things. At least as much as you want to stitch all the things. And I will see you next week. Have a lovely week, Flosstube. Bye!
Looking back at it.
Are you watching TV, Neko?
I'll put it to the next video. There you go.
What was that?
Cool, huh, Neko? His hand is on the screen.
No.
Is that good stuff? Your hand is in the way.